Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's nice being here this evening again. The last time I was here was on the first day, so it's nice being here again. All right, so I want to stand on the existing protocol, and I just want to go straight to the point. The title of my presentation today will basically be about writing style, basically. And then the outline of my presentation will be, well, I'll be a little brief on what exactly is expected while if you want to publish in high impact journal, what is expected of you as regards language. And then I will give the difference between formal and informal writing. And then I'll then talk about writing style for scientific writing, basically. So just a little brief. Whenever we're writing an article or high impact journal, the language we use is very, very important. We all know that often at times English is general language which academics often use for correspondence whenever it comes to trying to publish. So that's even if you go to some countries where English is not their lingua franca, but when you go to their institutions, they normally communicate in English and they submit their journals or articles in English. So English is really very, very important. So notwithstanding the amount of, because we've been going during the week, we've talked about how to write a very good research paper that can actually attract high impact factor journals. But then we did talk about the technicalities, how we can actually develop our algorithms and all the likes. But then if we don't represent our thoughts in a good, well, using good English or technical terms, it really can be watered down. Because I've actually reviewed some papers in the past before where by the time I start reading the abstract and I start getting to see grammatical errors, that is often a turn off for me. So grammar is really very, very important, which just ensure that we actually write clearly and we write edibly so that the reviewers can actually understand us, and well, those that will read our article will be able to relate with what we're trying to say. So often the time, poor English is really very, very, it's something which you try and do away with. So when we talk about formal writing, we could talk about, so if we're talking about writing, we could talk about writing in form of formal writing and informal writing. And I'm pretty sure that some of us are actually privy to what I mean when we talk about formal and when we talk about informal writing. So when we talk about informal writing, we mean anytime we're trying to submit to high impact or even journals generally, we use formal writing. And then how do we know if it's formal or informal? Basically, it's from the tone and the choice of words that we get to use. That's just the basic difference between the two. So often at times, formal writing is less personal. And then we use formal languages too. And just like I said earlier, academic publications, we use formal writing to represent academic publications, to actually express ourselves. And then we avoid using colloquialism, contractions, and personal pronouns, basically, such as I and we. But when we're doing informal writing, maybe the writing that might involve personal email, text messages, and all the rest. Those are actually much more casual writing and they are spontaneous in nature. And then we normally use them with friends, family, and the like. So we should often stick to formal writing. We should not mix them together while writing an article for a high impact journal. All right, so let me just give an example of where the mistakes some of our students make and some of writers make whenever they are trying to write their research papers. Often at times, they use contractions, and I correct anytime I read proposals, articles, or when I review papers, when I see informal contractions or contractions that are informal, I try to question who, as in how the writer is trying to divulge his information. So, for example, now let's look at the first example here. Let me have my pointer. Informal. The improvement can't be introduced due to funding restriction. Now, the formal way of writing this is improvement cannot. So the difference between this, so here there's a contraction, can't. But then when you're writing the formal writing, you use cannot be introduced due to funding restrictions. Another example could be the research project won't continue next year. And the formal way of writing this is the research project will not continue. So we should try and avoid contractions when we are writing the formal writing like research, articles, and the likes. Now let's look at phrasal verbs. Now, when we write it informally, we tend to be relaxed with words. We use, well, at the end of the day, play around with words in an informal way, such as the balloon was blown up for experiments. But when we want to write the same sentence formally, we'll say the balloon was inflated for the experiment. You can see the difference between the two words. Another example could be the patient got over his sickness. Whereas in a formal writing, we use a patient recovered. That's a better way of expressing it. Often at times, you see that the technicality of your work will depend on the type of phrasal verbs you use. The last example that I have on my slide is the result of the study were mixed up. Now, the formal way of writing this could be the result of the study were confused. So if you use very technical terms, the reviewer will understand that you know what exactly you're doing and you're trying to pass in your information in a very technical way. When we come to slang and colloquialism, for informal, because I've actually read some journal articles before where, well, slangs are actually being used and in an informal way. And then, for example, if you have it as it was raining cat and dog. Now, raining cat and dog there is actually a slang. But if you want to represent this in a formal way, you say it was raining very heavily. That is showing a sign of seriousness and a sign of formality. Now, when we look at first person pronoun, we have often at times when we write it informally, we could say that I considered various research methods for the study. While the same word can actually be written informally, like various research methods were considered for the study. You can see now that instead of using the first person pronoun, we have actually reconstructed to mean various research methods were considered for the study. Another example could be, instead of using we believe the practice is unsuitable, we could use it is believed the practice is unsuitable. The last example under the first person pronoun would then be, for an informal way of writing, you could say, during the interview, I asked students about their experiences. And the formal way of representing this could be, during the interview, students were asked about their experience. You can see they mean the same thing, but then the way we present it formally for an article or a journal is quite different from when we're speaking informally with family and friends and the likes. Acronym, I think Dr. Hilary did mention about acronym in one of his lectures, where often at times when we are trying to put in an acronym, before we put in an acronym, we must have spelled it out initially during the process of writing our article. So it's until we must have defined it before we can then start using the acronym. That's why we said the first time an acronym is used, it is acceptable to write the full to write the name in full with the acronym in bracket after it. And every subsequent time, you could actually use the acronym on its own. And having talked about formal and informal writing, we could then come and talk about style for scientific writing. Now, when we're talking about style for scientific writing, a lot of times, just like in every situation, we always have different ways of expressing ourselves. And punctuation is really very, very important. Punctuation is very important because the person trying to review your work will want to come along with you while he's reading the work, and he must be able to get the feeling which you are trying to portray in your writing. So often at times, the goal of punctuation is to make text clearer, basically, because that's why we have different types of punctuation, comma, full stop, and all the likes. They have their different meanings, and they're actually meant to pass a message across as well, where you are pausing at some points. Where if I see a comma, definitely I'll know it's either I'm pausing a bit, or probably I'm giving additional information, or probably I'm trying to actually list some items thereabout. So punctuation makes text clearer, but unfortunately, English punctuation rules do not always coincide with rules from mother tongue. They are always at loggerheads. Now, usually you manage with just two full marks, because what is very, very popular among punctuation, the very popular punctuations that we have are basically full stop and comma. So if you are not a very sophisticated writing and you want to play safe, you could equally stop at full stop and comma, but then it could actually make your work very, very boring. So therefore, we will recommend that once you understand when to use other punctuations like colon, semicolon, and dash, it will actually make your work much more technical, and then the person reviewing your work will know that you actually understand the language. Now, I'll just run through some punctuation, and then those that are trivial, I will not spend too much time on it. So when we talk about full stop, we definitely know that full stop ends the full sentence. I've seen some reports that I've read before where people do not put full stop at the end of their sentences, or they start a new sentence with small letter. Those are not allowed if you want your work to be published in High Impact Journal. So do not use comma instead of full stop to separate independent clauses which are not logically related. Now, the use of comma, just like I said earlier, could actually be used to separate introductory phrases and conjunction, such as however, thus, similarly. So let's look at an example here. You can see, ideally, you have a comma, you pause a bit. All references are entered into a database. Another example could be, despite the high time complexity, that's introductory phrase, then you have a conjunction. X is often used. You can see where the comma is being used. Now, for example, comma, we can search episodes in www.logdata. So you can see how you can actually use comma to separate introductory phrases and conjunction. Another area where we can use comma would actually be when the sentence begins with an independent clause. Sorry, with a dependent clause. So that means the clause is depending on another clause to actually make a meaning. For example, since X is a statistic, now you really can see that it's dependent. Now it is also a random variable. So those two will then make sense. Now, another example could be, if this condition is not satisfied, then there should be a comma. Then the confidence bounds cannot be used. And just like I said earlier, when two phrases, you can use comma too when two phrases with the same meaning are used side by side. You could see this example is like, one of the most useful statistics is X bar, comma, the sample mean. Now, if you remove the sample mean there, it still make a meaning. As one of the most useful statistics is X bar. So sometimes you use comma to actually give more information. So even if you remove that information away, it still gives you a complete meaning. You still get the meaning out of it. So you also use comma to separate items in a list of 3 or more items. For example, in an Oxford, okay, because we call something Oxford comma, which is the last comma before and, or no. Then you could actually use comma too. For example, X is simple, comma, fast, comma, and easy to implement. So that's use of an Oxford comma. All right, now let's look at colon. Now, use colon between a grammatically complete introductory clause and a final phrase or clause that illustrates or extends it. So often at times, if you want to use colon, you normally use it to complete introductory clause, or you can actually use it to illustrate or extend the final phrase. Now, it joins the two halves of a sentence together. Now, if that is the case, that means the joining clause must start with a capital letter. For example, the formal definition of X is the following. You have a colon, then you can define whatever you want to define. Another example is X has several benefits. You have a colon, then you can start with a capital letter. It is efficient, comma, robust, comma, and easy to implement. Let's now look at semicolon. Now, in the case of semicolon, you could actually use semicolon to separate two independent clauses. That means those two clauses can stand on their own. And, instead of using a full stop, you can actually use a semicolon to actually help you get a logical flow. So you can insert a semicolon between two parts of a sentence. Now you can see semicolon. The provision is that both parts must be able to stand alone as a separate sentence. Now we can then refer to semicolon as being stronger than a comma but weaker than a full stop. But then there's a little jokingly advice here that often at times, if you are not too if you are not too confident about using semicolon, you could actually just save it for program code. You know, if you want to make a comment in your program code, you normally use semicolon. So if you are not too comfortable, so to separate independent clauses in a list. Now you can see this example now. Metric D has 3 properties. You can see we have a column. Then we are listing 1. D is reflective, i.e. D into bracket x, comma x equal to 0 for all x. We have a semicolon. Then for the second item too, you have a semicolon. So these are independent clauses that can stand on their own. You could also use semicolon to separate elements in a series which already contain a comma. For example, the color order was red, comma, yellow, comma, blue, comma, then you have a semicolon. And yellow, red, blue, semicolon, or blue, yellow, red. So those are instances where we can use semicolon. Then for quotation marks, I think we did talk about quotation marks in the like some of the earlier speakers have talked about the quotation mark. The quotation marks are necessary when you represent a direct citation. Or you could actually also use a quotation mark to introduce a word or phrase used ironically, used as ironic comments, basically, or a slang. For example, researchers have developed several measures to evaluate the interestingness of an association. You can see we use a quotation mark here because this is basically a slang. So it's not a direct English word like that. Therefore, parentheses, it's often used for 2 purposes. When we want to introduce abbreviation, we can use parentheses. That's why we said minimum description length here as represented with a parenthesis, MDL. Then if you want to add extra details, you could also use parentheses, like 2 common choices are to represent a cluster by a centroid. Now, the meaning of centroid could be center point. So this is actually giving you additional information. And often at times, you could even use a comma in place of this because it's an additional information. Then another example could be in minimum edit distance, we define the minimum number of operations, e.g. insertions, deletion. So this is just giving you an additional information. Now, you can also use it to refer to references because I'm sure you guys, as some of you must have even observed that in some journals that you get to read, you see parentheses and then you see figure this or C, then you have the citation. That was the example that was cited instead here. So sometimes you can use it to give extra references. Then we have what we call the dash as well. You can always use commas instead of dash. Because sometimes if you use dash, you're using it for additional information as well. So additional details can also be separated by parentheses. So this can actually be used interchangeably. But the only difference is that dash often normally interrupt the continuity of the sentence. So, for example, now you have the 2 students, you have a dash, 1 computer science student and 1 math student were tested separately. Then you have italics and bold. Use italics for emphasis and bold for strong emphasis. Avoid using the both. So the final part of this presentation will basically be the style of scientific writing. Now, there are some words that you should, because I was so happy when Professor Hilary was giving his presentation about how to summarize a title the other day, where he was actually trying to delete some redundant words and some words that were repetitive. So once you are now use of words, make sure you use word according to the precise meaning understood by an average person. Ideally, you will check whether every word could be deleted or replaced by a better one. For example, let me just take a bit because you can see I've cancelled some here. Now you can use because instead of based on the fact that. You can just basically use because based on the fact would actually mean a longer sentence. For or to instead of for the purpose of. Then you can have small. Instead of you saying small in size, you can just say small because definitely small refers to size. Instead of you saying in close proximity, you can just say in proximity. Or instead of you saying very close to 0, you can just say close to 0. And then people normally make the mistake of writing much better. There's nothing like much better. You can just say better. Period of time. You're still talking about time. Time is period. Now, summarize briefly. You can just say summarize. And then the reason is because the reason is the reason. And then also included. You can remove the also and just write included. Then in order to can just be left with two. And then except for except. So those redundant words should be removed. Then do not generalize unnecessarily. For example, do not say some if you know it is only one instance. And then avoid type, like if you want to say words like very and extremely are usually unnecessary, because you will want to be telling the reviewer that you have already taken a side, because the reviewer at the end of the day will want to review and tell you either it's very or extremely. And some authors also use these words, they interchange these words, affect and effect. That should also be looked at whenever we are writing. Like temperature affect the outcome. There was an effect of outcome on the outcome. So we should know the difference on when we want to use affect or effect. Then we should note that these singular and plural forms, criterion, criteria, data, datum, medium, media, and phenomenon and phenomena, those are words that are often, the plural and singular that are often interchangeably used, which is not right. Now, do not use however or its synonyms twice in the paragraph, because when you say however, you are actually going in the opposite direction. So if you keep going in the opposite direction after you must have made a statement, it is not too good for a reader or a reviewer. And keep jargons to a minimum and explain any that you have to use. Then avoid the so-called human agent. For example, use the authors concluded that rather than the study concluded that. Then while sounds more modern than whilst. Then make sure that you have a flowing idea, especially your first sentence of a paragraph usually set the topic of the paragraph, and do not have any unlinked ideas. Now, paragraph must consist of more than one sentence, and try to make the ideas within each section flow together, because your writing must maintain a logical flow. And then do not put things in the wrong section or subsection. Then check that you do not contradict or repeat yourself in different sections of your article, and often aim for simplicity. Lastly, when you are writing, ensure that, because in English writing, we have the two predominant types of English writing is either the US or the British. Often at times, the US often use ISE while the British use ISE while the US use IZE. So whenever you are writing a technical paper or a research paper for high impact journal, ensure you are consistent. First of all, know what the publishers want. If they want British English, make sure you change all your manuscript to British English. If they want US English, change to US English. And if the requirement, and then if you do not state the requirement, ensure you are consistent. When you are using British, ensure you use British all through. And when you are using US, ensure you use US English all through. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Payemi. You are just in time. That's good. That's very good. We appreciate this, your insightful presentation. Thank you. Please, we don't have much time on our hand. The next person is, do we have any question? Do we have any question, or at the end of the whole presentation, we'll now have questions?
That would be better. It's better we have the questions at the end, please.
Okay. So, thank you. The next presenter is Dr. Abani. How to prepare for seminar writing. Dr. Abani.
Okay, ma'am.
Dr. Payemi, you can stop sharing so that he will be able to share his slides. Thank you.
Madam, I'm waiting for him to stop sharing so that I can share.
Yeah, I'm trying to fix it. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, that has been fixed.
All right. All right. Good evening, Director. Good evening, Madam, and good evening, every other listener. I did not join on time, so I wouldn't know those who are present that I will make the first in.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So this night, I'm going to take people through seminar writing. Then we start with what is a seminar. Generally, it is a small discussion on a specific topic among a group of students. Seminar is a small discussion on a specific topic. The topic can be your thesis. The topic can be an assignment by a lecturer. The topic can be what has been chosen by a student and you want others to criticize, to critique. So it is a specific, it is a discussion on a specific topic among a group of students. At university, it can be a central part of the learning process, from lectures, creating seminars around pre-reading course or post-lecture discussion. A lecturer can come to class before starting the course at all. He might pick some topic, assign it to some students as what we call term paper. Then this term paper, at the end of the day, the students are now going to present it as a seminar. So we'll call it pre-reading test. Or at the end of the whole course, the lecturer can now give assignments to students to go and write up. Then fix a date when they are going to present a seminar on what they have written. So it can be actually pre or post, depending on the course lecturers. Commonly at university, English language center seminars have become a future of testing English speaking, though through fluency, conversation skills, and ability skills, and ability to discuss complex subjects. That might be a reason for a seminar. Those in the languages, they might be given a topic for them to come up and speak. We are watching their speaking skills. We are watching how they can discuss complex subjects. So by so doing, what they're presenting is called a seminar. Then we'll go to the next slide. Then we now want to ask ourselves a question, please, at your level of master's and PhD, what you do forever is keep asking yourself questions. Your ability to answer these questions you have asked yourself, that is, you'll become a philosopher. You become a philosopher. That is why it is called Doctor of Philosophy. Somebody who asks himself questions and answer those questions. So one of the questions on this slide is, why have seminars? That is one of the questions. One, to explore topics in more depth. When a topic is given to you, go and prepare a seminar. You are going to present before us because you wouldn't want to fail, because you wouldn't want to come before the class and start rejecting. You will go in depth and make a research on that topic and come to present to others. So that might be a reason for seminar. The next is to share ideas. At times, what you might be thinking is correct in your head. When you present it and people critique it, from there, you get more ideas. For some time now, since Monday, You have been writing things you thought were papers. You have been doing things you are thinking this one is perfect, I've got it. But when, as you have talked and you sent it to us, and we look at it, I would not come to tell you, no, this direction you are taking is not it. Then we're sharing ideas. That can be a reason for a seminar. Then in this, you learn from others. When this one talk and I talk my own from there, we exchange ideas. No man is an island of knowledge. Knowledge did not start from you and it will not end from you. That is one of the reasons for seminar presentation. Then the next one is improve transferable skills for career development. Through seminars, you can develop the career of public speaking, being able to talk in the public, being able to have ideas and come to public and transfer these skills to others. That is another reason for seminar. I go to the next slide. So in this slide now, we're still looking at reasons for seminars. We're trying now to define what actually seminar is. One, seminars are an important part of many academic programs. Some academic programs have it in their curriculum. They call it seminar presentation. So you are going to study it and you get scored for it. So it can be an important part of many academic programs. Another one is that provide an opportunity for a group of students to discuss and analyze a range of new materials. You know, when you give this one, go and study, go and research and come to present to us. You get to this one, study, research, and come to present to us. You know, they get new materials, they get new information, and these new informations are given out in this seminar presentation. The seminar can also be ideas and concepts together with the tutor, where students share ideas and concepts together with the tutor. The teacher is always coming to teach, but today it has become your turn to teach, so that others can criticize. By so doing, you are sharing ideas, you are sharing concepts with the tutor. Then the next is that in some schools, such classes are referred to as seminars, and in others, they are called tutorials. You know, it's synonym. You can decide to call it seminar. Some other one person might say it is tutorial. But at the end of the day, the background thing about it is that we want to share information, we want to get new knowledge, we want to look at your speaking ability in the public. Those are the reasons for seminar. We move ahead as we are trying to build the background on what a seminar should be. It is usually the case that students are asked to take a very active role in their seminar. You know, in a class, only the lecturer comes to teach always. Students at times become passive. You know, they wait for the lecturer. They want to get all the information from the lecturer. But during seminar, they are the ones to talk. So when they are the ones talking, they become active in the class. And another thing is that all students will be invited to speak and contribute this in the discussion. This time is no longer only the lecturer, it is no longer only the teacher, it is no longer only the tutor that is talking. All students are invited upon, called upon, come and give us your own idea. And in this way, it is not only academic understanding that you will gain. It is not only academic understanding that you gain, but also the chance to develop a wide range of personal and key skills. You can develop the skill of public speaking during seminar. Then the next is that this may include how best to communicate and present your views. During seminars as a student, you learn how best to present your views before a public. Please, there's a background. Hello.
Hello.
There's a noise on the background.
my clothes for your bed.
Go on.
Why is that noise at the background? Can you mute?
You can go on. You can go on. I've muted.
You can go. Hello, can you go on, please?
Whether you have muted him. I guess he has been muted though.
Yes, but he cannot mute himself. He doesn't, I mean, he just muted again.
But you need to tell him that.
Dr. Bani, could you just unmute yourself and continue?
Okay, thank you. I've got it now. Thank you. So, as I was saying, I said this may include how best to communicate and present your views and to build your confidence when speaking in front of others. Those are the reasons for seminars. How to present in front of others. The noise at the background is
Please continue.
all right, I've been muted. All right. Okay, say, and to build your confidence when speaking in front of others, other students. Those are the reasons for seminars. Then the next is the purpose of seminars. When we're talking about purpose of seminar, we're saying the specific purpose of seminars and tutorials vary enormously across the university and from discipline to discipline. Seminar in a university system means different things to different people. Some departments, seminar means if you are running a master's or a PhD, regularly, occasionally, they call you to present seminar on your thesis. That might be the meaning in some department. While in some departments, seminar means that you are given a topic and you are asked to go and research on that topic to come and present your seminar. So a seminar actually means whatever a university calls it. It is what a university calls seminar, that is what it becomes. It can mean, I've written a proposal. Then a seminar is organized. Come and present the proposal to us. It can mean, that's what I mean in a department. While in some department, they have it as a course in their curriculum, presentation of seminar. So any topic can be given. So those are one of the reasons for seminar. It is important that you familiarize yourself with any guidance provided by your school. So you have to stick to your school. What does your school call their own seminar? What does your department call their own seminar? What does your faculty, what does seminar mean to them? Does it mean presenting your thesis occasionally, regularly, at a time interval? Or does it mean it is part of the curriculum that is supposed to be scored, that topics are given and you are asked, called upon to go and research on that topic and come to present at a seminar? So that might be a purpose for seminar. Then the purpose may include some of the following. One, providing an opportunity to explore a topic in depth. That might be one of the purposes for a seminar. Surveying and critically evaluating different viewpoints. That might be a reason for seminar. Developing a wide range of communication and study skills. It might be a reason for seminar. Or you want to build confidence on your students. You have called yourself in a World Bank Center of Excellence. And tomorrow you are parading that degree and you don't have confidence and you are called upon to come and speak and you cannot speak. You are so by so doing bringing shame and disgrace to the department. So the department will want to like to build confidence on you, so they can create a course. And they say this course is seminar presentation, and what they want to do there is to make sure you get enough communication skill that you build confidence. At times, you see people say, I graduated from Yale. It means a lot of things to the university. You say somebody say, I graduated from Oxford, London Business School, and there is certain decorum that is expected of you. So university might decide that we don't want our product when they graduate from here. They will not have enough communication skill. They will not have built enough confidence in order for them to get this communication skills and build confidence. Then they now float a course in the curriculum that is called seminar presentation, for the student to be able to represent the departments, to represent the faculty, to represent the university, wherever they go, and they're called upon to come and speak. That might be a reason for seminar. Then it can mean easy communication between students and tutors. At times, the lecturer might come to class, teach and teach and teach, thinking that the students are doubts. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. You know, I'm an embodiment of knowledge. You might be surprised. One day, seminar, you ask them to come and talk. You'll be marveled the kind of knowledge that will be coming from them. That might be a reason, purpose for seminar. Then the next thing we want to look at is now, let us ask ourselves some few questions and answer them. If we'll be able to answer these questions, I will end with it. We are asking ourselves some few questions. Our ability to answer this question will determine what we call seminar. Question 1 is, what is an academic seminar? Question 2, what is the purpose of a conference? Question 3, what is education seminar? And the next question, what is the difference between a seminar and a presentation? We want to draw a line between seminar and presentation. The next question is, what is symposium, method of teaching? And the next question we might want to ask ourselves, which we are going to provide answer, is, what is seminar presentation? Is there any difference between seminar and seminar presentation? We want to answer this question. The next is, what is a seminar paper? The next is, what is seminar PDF? The next is, what is the difference between convention and conference? Next, how do you structure a workshop? These are the questions we want to answer in the following slides. So this first one now say, what is an academic seminar? So we'll try to bring an answer like this to the best of our knowledge, to the best of our ability. 1, an academic seminar is a form of academic instruction, either at an academic institution or offered by a commercial or professional organization. That's an academic seminar. It has the function of bringing together small groups for recurring meetings. A university, a department can say that, like the university I graduated from the University of Benin, every Thursday is faculty seminar. Every Thursday is faculty seminar. So a university might decide that regularly we'll be meeting on Thursdays to hear from our students. What is the product of their research? How far have they gone on their research? Their progress reports, the progress they have made on their research. Then the next is focusing each time on some particular subjects in which everyone present is requested to participate. That can mean an academic seminar. So it depends on what actually you want. Please, when we're talking about academic seminar, the faculty, the department should take their stand. What does it mean? Does it mean all the students, when they write their proposal, they come to present it in seminar? That's a seminar. As they're making progress, they come to present it in seminar. That's a seminar. As they go to, if they collect data, they come to present in seminar. That's a seminar. Or a faculty or a department might decide to say, no, go ahead and be writing your thesis, but you are going to be presenting at least a seminar once in a month in any given topic. depending on what the department or the faculty have at the back of their mind. Maybe what is at the back of their mind is that we don't want our product to graduate without confidence. We don't want them to graduate without communication skill. So it is the department that will take the stance and take the lead. This is what seminar means in this department. And if you must graduate from this department, this is the number of seminar you are going to present. So these are the things we can call academic seminar. It has the function of bringing together small groups for recurring meetings, focusing each time on a small particular subject in which everyone present is requested to participate. Then the next question we want to answer is, what is the purpose of a conference? Seminar and conference, there's no too much difference between them. You call it seminar, you call it conference. What it actually means is for people to come and show the results of their scientific writings, the result of their scientific work. That is what we call conference. It is still the same thing as seminar. But when we do it in a larger group, most of the time we call it conference. But when you reduce it to the students in your department, most often we use the word seminar instead of conference. Its purpose could be one of the following. One, an academic conference is a gathering of scientists or academicians where research findings are presented or a workshop is conducted. We're talking about conference, academic conference.
Hello, Dr. Abani.
Yes, ma'am.
5 minutes more. You have 5 minutes more.
Okay, let me try and round up.
Go straight to seminar. Yes.
A business conference is held for people working in the same company or industry. A trade conference takes place on a large scale. This can be referred to as conference. Then the next question is, what is education seminar? Seminars are simply a group of people coming together for the discussion and learning of specific techniques and topics. Seminars as a method of teaching. Seminar is a form of a class organization that utilizes a scientific approach for the analysis of problems chosen for discussion. Then the next question we want to answer very fast is, what is the difference between a seminar and a presentation? There is no difference between them. Seminar, it involves you sitting down to write and coming to present. So it actually means the same thing. Seminar, presentation, you sit down, you do the work at your bedroom and come to the public and come to display the result you have achieved. Then the next question we want to answer is, what is symposium method of teaching? Symposium method of teaching is whereby it's not the teacher alone that teaches. He can distribute the topic to the students, and each one is called upon to come and teach on a particular topic that is given to that person. That is what we mean by symposium. Then the next question is, what is seminar presentation? Seminar presentation, you have done the work at home, you've done the research, you have gone for the sleepless nights, you now organize the day for you to come and present whatever findings you have. Then the next question we want to answer is, what is a symposium format? What format will it take? It is the department that determines the format. The symposium is generally defined as a meeting organized so that experts in a given field can meet, present papers, and discuss issues and trends or make recommendations for a certain course of action. Then the next question we want to ask ourselves is, what is a seminar paper? Seminar paper, you have written a paper and you want to present it in a seminar. So a seminar paper is a work of original research that presents a specific thesis, a specific question, and is presented to a group of interested peers, usually in an academic setting. That is what we call seminar paper. Although seminar papers have specific purpose and guidelines in some places, such as law school, the general process and format is the same. Then coming to the end, failure is part of, is not the opposite of success, it is part of success. When you fail, pick up your broken pieces and move on. Thank you very much, and I'm grateful for the opportunity given to me to teach. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Abani. Thank you. The next, thank you for the insightful presentation. Thank you. The next presenter is Dr. Hilary Onwama. Dr. Vincent, please stop sharing.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
All right, ma. All right, I've stopped.
Dr. Mama, you have 30 minutes. I know yesterday you pleaded for 1 hour, 60 minutes, but we don't have the 60 minutes. You have only half of it, which is 30 minutes. Thank you.
I'll manage the 30 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, please.
All right, thank you. So let me first and foremost thank the amiable Vice Chancellor of National Open University, the Dean PG School, our amiable director, and all speakers who have spoken, our beloved colleagues, and then students. This is another opportunity to talk to us. I pray that we'll be able to get the message well so that at the end of the day, we'll begin to write very good and acceptable proposals. So having done that, my topic this evening says, how to write a research proposal, guide, and templates. I hope the audio is good enough.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good enough.
All right, thank you. How to write a research proposal, guide, and template. Over time, we have come to realize that the problem students usually face, after their coursework in masters, and then when they are embarking on their PhD, the major problem they face is one, how do I get a researchable topic? And thank God we were able to talk about title. But we have much later on, I want us to organize another workshop on how to develop thesis title. But now, having gotten a title, the next thing they ask is, how do I now put it in proposal form? These have been a problem to so many students. And that is why this evening, I want to take it one after the other on how you can effortlessly prepare a research proposal that can skate through all manner of review and criticism. Let me put it in presentation format. Okay, so introduction. I say a research proposal describes what you will investigate, why it is important, and how you will do the research. That's what research proposal is all about. What you will investigate, it describes it. Why it is important, it describes it. And how you will do the research. So when we talk about research proposal, is a proposal that you prepare to convince your supervisor, to convince your department that this research work is worthy of being undertaken, that also it can be done, and that the materials for doing it, you have them, that the intellectual know-how and capacity for doing it, you have it. So it's a way of telling them that you want to do this work has not been done, you have the capacity to do it, and then you have the wherewithal. So the format of a research proposal varies between fields, but most proposals should contain at least 3 elements. In some, the chapters are continuous. In some, they are put into chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. However, at the end of the day, you find these elements and they are virtually the same thing. One is a cover page. You must have a cover page. The other is introduction. The other is literature review. The other is research design, which you can liken to methodology, and then your reference list. You must always find these 5. There could be some other additions here and there. Now, there may be some variation in how the sections are named or divided, but the overall goals are always the same. The overall goals are always the same. This presentation will take us through a basic research proposal and templates, and will explain what we need to include in each part. Let me move on to the next slide. Now, purpose of a research proposal. Academics often have to write research proposals to get funding for their projects, because there are usually two types of research proposals. One is the one you write, which is usually of smaller pages, about 4 to 7 pages, when you want to attract funding, when you want to attract a grant, okay, usually about 4 to 7 pages. The other is one you write for your master's thesis and your PhD, for commencement of your master's thesis and your PhD thesis. These are the two major reasons why we write proposals. As a student, you might have to write a research proposal as part of graduate school application, or you might need to submit one before you start writing your thesis or dissertation. All research proposals are designed to persuade someone, such as a funding body, educational institution, supervisor, that your project is worthy of being embarked upon. So, like I said yesterday, it is like when one is wooing a lady. You talk in a way that you convince her. You don't go and tell a lady that you are convicted sometime ago of a crime. You don't go there and start saying negative things about you. She will later come to discover some of those things. But you say very good things that will convince her, so that at the end of the day, the proposal scales through. That is the way it is also in research proposal. You present it in such a manner that someone is persuaded to fund you. Someone is persuaded to give you to allow you undertake the study so that you get the PhD or a master's degree at the end of the day. You present such a matter that your supervisor is convinced. You present such a matter that you are given a go-ahead to proceed with the work. Research proposal, what are the aims? Why research proposal? One, relevance. To convince the reader that your project is interesting, original, and important. I want us to look at those keywords. Relevant. You write your research proposal with the aim that you want to convince the reader. This time around, it may be your supervisor, it may be the departmental panel, it may be the funding body, that the project is interesting, that the project is original, and that the project is important. The next thing is context. The next thing is context. And in context, you write it to show that you are familiar with the field, that you understand the current state of research on that topic, and that your ideas have strong academic basis. Because one thing we look out for in a research proposal is this person familiar with the field? As I am now in civil engineering, it will be very stupid of me to begin to write a research proposal on high voltage engineering, which is Dr. Professor Abani's area. It will be the most unfortunate thing to embark upon, because I do not know the literature in that field. I do not know the fundamentals of high voltage engineering. And so when I write the proposal, it will easily show. So the proposal, you write the proposal to show that you are familiar with the field, that you have understanding of the current state of research, that you know where research is at the moment, that you know the gap that has not been filled, which will now inform your current research, and that your ideas have strong academic basis. Now, approach, which is methodology. Make a case for your methodology. So in your proposal, we see how you want to do this work, which is your methodology. It shows that you have carefully thought about the data, that you have carefully thought about the tools and the procedure you need to conduct the research. As a matter of fact, the two most important aspects of proposals are the introduction and the methodology. The introduction, I will later break it down. In the introduction, that's where we have the background of study. That's where we have the statement of problem. That's where we have the aim and objectives. That's where we have the justification of the study. And sometimes, like expected contribution to knowledge. And so, it is where you build it by telling us, you give us the global background, you take it to the local background, you take it to current research in the field, you take it to existing research, and then you narrow it to your own, and then you're able to tell us by yourself why this research should be approved for you. So the next most important thing is the approach, the methodology, because having given us what you want to do, having explained the novelty, we want to ensure that you can do it because you are timed. Your program is time-bound. The MSc thesis is 1 year and 6 months in many schools. The PhD is 3 years or 2 years and 6 months in many schools. So your supervisor and the departmental panel would want to know if you can conclude this work within 3 years, so that you don't go pick a topic on how to send children to the moon without a rocket. Nobody will approve that for you because you will not even be able to tell us how you get the data. How do you send children who are not even old enough? How do you send them to the moon again without a rocket? So you will see that that will be seen as being too bogus, being too big, being too unacademic, and being too unnecessary. And so such proposal will not be approved. So it is in your methodology that we know if it is a doable project or it's not doable. Because then you begin to tell us the kind of data you would want to gather. You begin to tell us the tools and the procedure with which you want to gather this data. And then we'll be able to know if it is doable or not. The next thing is to confirm that the project is possible. Like I said before, that the project is possible within the practical constraints of the program, the institution or funding body. If the funding body has only 1 million naira available for you, and you are not working, and you want to engage in a project of 50 million naira, automatically you never finish that project. If the program, the PhD is for 3 years, and it will take you 10 years to collect only data, automatically it is no longer a proper PhD thesis. So your proposal helps us to look at the feasibility within the limits of time, funding, and what your institution wants at that material time. Now, having said that, how long is a research proposal is the next question. How long is a research proposal? And we said that the length of a research proposal varies dramatically. A bachelor or master's thesis proposal can be just a few pages. A bachelor or master's thesis proposal can be just a few pages. Why proposal for PhD dissertations and research funding are often very long and detailed. So, but for PhD, we do not expect it to be as scanty as that of master's and first degree. We expect it to be long. Why for research funding? It all depends on the funding body. Sometimes the funding body will tell you it shouldn't be more than 7 pages. Sometimes they tell you it should be more than 20 pages. So you need to get the instruction of the funding body and then structure it the way they want. Although you write before you begin the research, the proposal structure usually looks like a shorter version of your thesis, and that is the truth. Because having presented your proposal, and then you go into the field, the next thing after the result have come is to blow up the proposal. Because background of study is still the background of study. The only thing that you now further flesh it for your subsequent post-data presentation. The literature review is literature review. But now, because there are a few pages in the proposal, you now bring in other elements, other variables, other parameters into the literature review to blow it up. And then in your methodology, you now change it from I will do to I have done. Now this research will collect data to data was collected. So this research will analyze to data we analyzed. And then you will now have result and discussion to make it a complete thesis. So your proposal is a shorter form of your thesis. And that's why you must take it very, very serious. If you begin to fail at the proposal level, then certainly you will fail woefully. Because when the foundation is destroyed, there is nothing the righteous can do. Now, we now go to the cover page, which is more or less the title page. Now, like your dissertation or thesis, the proposal will usually have a title page that includes one, the proposed title of your project, your name, your supervisor's name, the institution, and department. Now, you have to check with the department or funding body to see if there are other specific formatting requirements. You need to see. Okay. Then another thing I didn't include here is the date of submission. After the institution and department, you put the date of submission, February 2022. Don't put day, month, comma, year. February 2022, January 2024, October 2021. Do not put 17th October. The day is not required, just the month and the year. Now, abstract and table of content. If your proposal is very long, you might also have to include an abstract and a table of content to help the reader navigate the document. So if you're having a proposal of 20 to 30 pages, there may be need for abstract and table of content. But if it is for research funding and it's just about 7 pages, and the instruction even said that it shouldn't be more than 7 pages, there may be no need to bring in abstract and bring in table of content that may blow up the pages and will not enable you to put the required ingredients in the proposal. Now we look at introduction. So the first part of your proposal is the initial pitch for your project. So make sure it succinctly explains what you want to do and why. The introduction of your proposal is very important. Many a time proposals are thrown away because of weak introduction, because of directionless introduction, because of haphazard introduction. That's why when you are writing introduction, you must make sure that you observe the rules. And that's why I spent time today to tell us what introduction of a proposal needs from us. One, you introduce the topic. That's what introduction is all about. You introduce the topic. And how do you introduce it? By you give a background and context. You give the global background, you give the national background, you give the local background, and you place it contextually so that it will suit your work. Because everything you are saying must be contextualized. So if you are working on renewable energy, and then it's on biogas you are working on, you take it from why we must abandon fossil fuel, because fossil fuel generate greenhouse gases, such as methane and CO2, and these greenhouse gases are the gases responsible for global warming, since they have the ability to attract energy from the sun, and they don't have the ability to radiate this energy. And that fossil fuel, the pumping of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere began during the Industrial Revolution, and this is becoming a threat to the existence of humanity. Hence, renewable energy. Renewable energy is important. This is the renewable energy available in Nigeria. This is the quantity. And then among the renewable energy, biogas technology is becoming the best. Hence, this research, because it has not been looked into properly in Nigeria. So you begin from the global perspective of the dangers of fossil fuel, you narrow it down to renewable energy, narrow it down to the renewable energy in Nigeria. Now tell them why you are interested in biogas, not other renewable energy. So while you give the background, you contextualize it, you narrow it to your work. That is the contextualization. And now you outline your problem statement and research question. Okay, under this introduction, what are the problems? That's why I say 1.1 is your background of study. 1.2 is problem statement and research questions, if need be. Problem statement and research questions. What are the statement of problem? Statement of problem, like this one I've said, could be that the use of fossil fuel is beginning to destroy the environment because of global warming. It's also beginning to destroy the ecosystem upon which man and humanity depends upon. Hence, the need for renewable energy. So there must be a statement of problem. You now begin to tell them that if this thing continues, the average temperature of the earth may rise above 5 degrees Celsius. And as by that time, the entire humanity will be wiped off. That is a problem statement. That is a problem statement for somebody who's working in renewable energy. Now, another thing that could be there is some important questions to guide your introduction include who has the interest in the topic? Scientists, practitioners, policymakers, particular members of the society. You tactically bring it in, okay? The persons that this topic will affect. How much is already known about the problem? You need to tell us what other researchers have done and documented. What is missing from the current knowledge? We need to know what is missing. These all become part of your introduction. Now, what new insight will your research contribute? Having established what is missing, that Nigeria has not invested enough in renewable energy research, especially biogas technology. And there are a lot of agro and domestic waste materials all around that are of organic origin. And then these organic wastes are being thrown around to constitute public health problem. That you think that if the biogas technology is well deployed, it can help remove this organic waste from the environment through conversion of this organic waste into biogas, which is more of methane and CO2 for heating processes, for energy generation, and what have you. You now give a new insight into what your research will do. And the next thing is, why is this thesis worth doing? You not justify. That's why I said the last day justification of the study. Not justify it. Having done the research, what will Nigerian government gain? What will Africa gain? What will Delta State gain? What will the University of Benin, where we are doing the work, gain? What is the importance of this work to humanity? What is the importance of this work to policymaker? What is important to National University? What is important to Nigerian Ministry of, to Federal Ministry of Environment, to FEPA, and all of those? Now, if your proposal is very long, you might include separate sections with more detailed information. Just like I said, you can break it down if it is too long, just like in PhD thesis, into 1.1 background of study, 1.2 statement of problem, 1.3 aim and objectives, 1.4 justification of study or significance, and what have you. Now, literature review. You also bring in literature review. a very short literature review of not more than 10 pages or thereabout. Now, it is important to show that you are familiar with the most important research on your topic. Very, very important. Because like I always tell people, that literature is the heart of every research. Literature is the heart of every research. Literature is the author of every research. And so if it's a foundation, if you do not get it right at your literature review level, then you can never get the research right. And that's why I keep telling people, spend more time on exhaustive literature. When I was to write my PhD research proposal, I downloaded about 800 Elsevier articles on biogas technology published within the last 5 years, paid for them, printed them, and then organized them and spent 2 months reading them and contextualizing them before I began writing. And so when I began writing, within a period of a year and 6 months, I was done with the research. I was done because I had done my work. So literature is very important. It is important to show that you are familiar with the most important research on your topic. A strong literature review convinces the reader that your project has foundation, and it has foundation in existing knowledge or theory. Because like we have been saying, no knowledge is extremely or entirely new. There is no knowledge from the blues. Every knowledge that is evolving today has underpinnings, has fundamental theories. Okay, Newton's laws have always been there. Dalton's atomic theory is always there. Okay, Hooke's law is always there, that we can always use to do other things that we want to do. Even when you're in the ICT world that is evolving, there are underpinning theories. You are working on artificial intelligence, the underpinning theories. And so through literature review, you tell us about these underpinning theories, okay, that will enable you to do the work you want to do. It also shows that you are not simply repeating what other people have already done or said. So with your literature review, we get to know that you are not trying to reinvent the wheel, that you're not trying to tell us what already exists, because nobody is interested in reinventing the wheel, else you'll be accused of plagiarism. In this section, aim to demonstrate exactly what your project will contribute to conversation in the knowledge. That's what you aim to. You aim to demonstrate exactly how your project will contribute to conversations in the field, to current conversations in the field. Compare and contrast. This is when you begin to compare. What are the main theories? What are the main methods? What are the main debates? And what are the controversies? What are the controversies? You begin to compare. You begin to contrast. What did Okonkwo and Okafor see in their own research? What did they find? What did Adamu and Adafor? What did they find in their own? What's the difference between the finding of Okonkwo and Okeke and Adamu and Adafor? How do they compare? How do they contrast? And then you become critical. Okay, what are the strengths and the weaknesses of different approaches? The approach of Okafor and Okonkwo, okay, what were their strengths? What were their weaknesses? Adafor and Adamu, what were the weaknesses? What are the strengths? And then you are able also to show how your research fits in. How will you build on, challenge, or synthesize the work of others? How will you now synthesize? How will you build on the current challenge? How will you help to solve the identified gap in knowledge? Quite very, very important. Now, research design and methods, which is your 3 points, because your introduction is chapter 1 point. Your literary is chapter 2. Your research and design is chapter 3. You may also decide not to be putting chapter. You can just put introduction and then give the information there, the literature review, then research designs and method. Following the literature review, it is a good idea to restate your main objectives, bringing the focus back to your own project. The research design or methodology section should describe the overall approach and practical steps you will take to answer your research questions. What are the design approach? Okay, what is the research design? What methodology do you want to solve this problem? Now you are telling us that you want to develop, you want us to begin to use energy from biogas. Okay, that you want to anaerobically digest organic waste from agro waste materials and domestic and commercial waste materials. You must tell us what kind of anaerobic digester do you want to use. Okay, what is the configuration? What is the retention time? You must be able to tell us also how do you want to collect this data. Are you going to invade people's farm to collect this data? Are you going to invade people's waste bin to collect this data? What is the regularity of the collection? Are you going to collect every day? How many days will you collect? Are you going to collect in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening? Are you collecting if it is in the morning, is it at 8 a.m. or at 11 a.m.? If it is on in the afternoon, at what time? In the evening, at what time? And then how do you prepare? How are you going to prepare this data, organize them before you feed it into the anaerobic digester? When it begins to digest, how will you collect your data? The volume of biogas produced, which method are you going to use to collect it? All of these are anticipated and answered in your research design or methodology section. Now, methodology in a research proposal, I decided to put it in a tabular form. Research type. These are the questions we ask. Will you do quantitative or qualitative research, or even mixed method that we have now? Is the research qualitative? Is it quantitative? Is it a mixed method, which is a combination of qualitative and quantitative methods? Will you collect original data or work with primary data? Are you going to the lab to collect data of water quality parameters in Abuja? Or are you going to the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to collect panel data, to collect primary data, to collect data that the ministry have collected over time, but have not analyzed it in the light of research? So you ask yourself this question. These are the things we need to see in the methodology. You could say that panel data will be collected from the CBN or the Bureau of Statistics, or that you are going to use questionnaire to get all this data, or that you are going to the lab. Now, is your research design descriptive, correlational, or experimental? You need to tell us, is it experimental, you are going into the lab? Is it descriptive, okay? Is it correlational, that you are going to correlate one information and the other to show the relationship? The next is population and sample. Exactly what or who will you study? Exactly what or who? E.g., high school students in New York, Scottish newspaper archive, 1960 to 1980. You must tell us who do you want to study? Do you want to study the retirees in Edo State? Do you want to study the life of average Nigerian university professor after retirement? Do they suffer when they retire? How many are able to build a house before their retirement? How many live up to 10 years after they have retired? Does the government, the Nigerian government, do they take care of them? Okay, at local level, at state level, at the federal level. Do they take care of these professors when they retire? How many of them are struggling to come back as adjoint and on contract? Why are they struggling to do this? Is the struggle influenced by poverty? So you tell us the people you want to study. Now, how will you select subjects or sources? Is it by random sampling, by case studies, stratigraphic sampling? How do you want to do this? You need to tell us. When and where will you collect the data? When? Are you collecting in the rainy season? Are you collecting during the dry season? You must tell us also. Now, research methods. Please, let's mute our systems. Let's mute our systems, please. Now, research methods. What tools and procedures will you use? E.g., surveys, interviews, observations, experiments to collect, analyze your data. What tools and procedures? Why are these the best method to answer your research question? Why are you even adopting this tool? Why do you want to use questionnaire? Why do you want to go to the lab? Please, can we mute our systems? Why do you want to go to the lab? Why do you want to use survey method? Why do you want to interview the elderly? Why do you want to use questionnaire? The questionnaire you want to use, is it structured questionnaire or non-structured questionnaire? These are your research methods. Then peculiarity. How much time will you need to collect this data? How will you even get access to the participant or the sources? And what have you? So these are some of the things with the practicality, the reality. This data you have said you collect, is it really possible? Does CBN really have data on the population of the Nigerian citizens from 1960 to today? Does the Federal Ministry of Water Resources really have water quality information in Abuja for about 10 years that can enable you to do your research? And what time, how much time will it take you to do all of these? These are the practicalities. Now, methodology in a research proposal countdown. Make sure not to set a list of methods. Your aim should be to make an argument for why this is the most appropriate, valid, and reliable approach to answering your question. So you must tell us why the data must be, the population data must be collected from CBN. Why not from Bureau of Statistics? Why not from Nigerian Population Census or whatever, MPC? Why must you collect it from CBN? Are you relating the population information to demography and finance? Are you looking at the number of poor people and the number of rich people? Hence, you need to collect it from CBN. You must put forward the argument. Let us know why this method is the most appropriate. Don't just list methods for us. Because if you list only method, then the strength will be weak. The implications and contribution to knowledge. I'm about rounding up. To finish your proposal on a strong note, you can explore the potential implications of the research for theory or practice and emphasize again what you aim to contribute to an existing body of knowledge. So you might let them know that by the time you finish this research and you have given us ways of generating energy from biogas, it may reduce the dependence of the Nigerian state on fossil fuel. It may reduce the high quest for generators. It may reduce the number of days or the number of hours we have blackout in Nigeria. And then it will also help us to manage organic waste that we see all over the environment, which constitute public health hazard. So you must be able to anticipate and explore the potential implications of the research and put it under your implications and contribution to knowledge. For example, your result might have implications for improving processes in a specific location or field, informing policy objectives, strengthening a theory or model, challenging popular views and assumptions, and creating a basis for further research. Then there must be references of bibliography. Please, you cannot do proposal without giving us the materials you consulted, else you will be questioned for plagiarism. So your research proposal must include proper citations for every source you have used, and full publication details should be included in the reference list. To create citations quickly and easily, you can use the free APA citation generator that we have been taught. In some cases, you might be asked to include a bibliography. This is a list of all the sources you consulted in preparing the proposal, even the ones you did not cite in the text, and sometimes also other relevant sources that you plan to read of. The aim is to ensure that your work is supported by existing research and that you're not accused of plagiarism. Now, the next thing is your research schedule. In some cases, you might have to include a detailed timeline of the project, explain exactly what you will do at each stage and how long it will take. Check the requirements of your program or funding body to see if this is required. If it is required, you must structure it to tally with the requirement. If your PhD is to last for 3 years, you must give us a research schedule that cannot last more than 3 years. For example of research schedule I put here, okay, for your proposal: background research and literature review. Objectives: meet with supervisor for initial discussion, conduct a more extensive review of relevant literature, refine the research question, develop a theoretical framework. This you want to do 20th February. 2, remember this is hypothetical. 2, research design planning to design the questionnaires, identify online and offline channels for recruiting participants, finalize sampling method and data analysis method, 13th March. Data collection and preparation, recruit participants and send out questionnaire, conduct semi-structured interviews and selected participants, transcribe and code interviews, and clean survey data, 24th April. Data analysis, statistically analyze survey data, conduct thematic analysis of interview transcript, draft the result and discussion chapters, 22nd May. Number 5, writing, complete a full thesis draft, meet with your supervisor to discuss the feedback, and then do revision, 17 July. Then revision proper, redraft based on feedback, get supervisor's approval for final draft, proofread, submit, 20th August. This is just a simplified research schedule that we may use to, we may attach to our proposal. Now, budget. If you are applying for a research funding, you probably also have to include a detailed budget that shows how much each part of the project will cost. Make sure to check what type of costs the funding body will agree to cover, and only include relevant items in your budget. Okay, for each item, include cost. Exactly how much money do you need? You have to state it, and it has to conform with the available budget of the funding body. They cannot be telling you that they have 3 million naira and you are bringing a bill of 10 million naira. If you put a bill of 10 million naira, you must also state in your budget how you are going to get the remaining 7 million naira expressly. Then justification. Why is this cost necessary to complete the research? You must be able to tell us. Then source, how did you calculate the amount? So it must be in the form of a BEME or bill of quantity to tell us how you arrive at that amount. To determine your budget, think about travel costs. Do you need to go to specific locations to collect data? How will you get there? How long will you spend there? And what will you do there? E.g. interviews, looking at archives, and all of those. Then materials, do you need access to any tools or technology? Are they training or installation cost? Then assistance, do you need to hire research assistants for the project? What will they do? And how much will you pay them? Will you outsource any other tasks, such as transcription? Time, do you need to take leave from regular duties, such as teaching? How much will you need to cover the time spent on the research? Revisions and proofreading, as in any other piece of academic writing, it is essential to redraft, edit, and proofread your research proposal before you submit it. If you have, you can send it to your supervisor. If your supervisor is that friendly with you, send it to a colleague or send it to the assistant supervisor or the lesser supervisor to help you go through it before you submit. But I prefer you send it to your colleagues, send it to your friends. They help you critique it, they help you review it, they bring out all the problems that are in it, and then you can have a sit-out with them over lunch, and then they tell you what they see, and then the things that you have not seen, then you incorporate them to have a more robust work. Before I appreciate, I want to finally capture everything that I've said, that proposals for PhD theses, they are usually between 20 and 30 pages to contain very importantly introduction, and then that introduction you have your 1.1, which is background of study. This should be between 1 and 2 pages. Then you have your 1.2, which is statement of problem. This should be between half a page to 1 page or 1.5 pages. And then you have your aim and objectives, which should be about half a page. Then you have your justification of study, which is between half a page to 1 page. Then you could have your research questions or hypotheses and all of those. And then you have your literature review. Then the literature review should be about 10 to 12 pages because it's a proposal. It has to be very short. However, it has to be contextual. You have to tell us what has been done. You have to tell us where the gap that is existing. You have to tell us why you are doing your own. And then you have to situate it appropriately to suit your own work. And then you have your methodology, which is between 3 to 5 pages because it's a proposal. And then the language you use must be will, that the study shall. You don't tell us that the study has done. You don't tell us that data were collected. Because when you put that, we know that you are copying it from somewhere, and then it can easily be rejected. So at the end of the day, you put your citation. Your citations must be proper. Your in-text citation, you follow a particular standard. You don't use APA in some places, and then you begin to use some other method in some places. And then at the end of the day, there must be a reference list, because if there's no reference list to back up your in-text citation, then the work does not make sense. I want to, at this point in time, appreciate the organizers of this program for once again giving me the privilege to discuss with my colleagues and my friends this all important topic, development of research proposal. Thank you, and thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Onwama. And you just used exactly the 30 minutes. Thank you for this insightful presentation. I know the students are ready with their questions. And I can see we have in our midst the DVC TR. Prof, good evening. Good evening, and thank you for being with us.
Good evening, thank you.
Prof, please, we'll just have questions from students. Just within 10 minutes will be through. Thank you. Please, your questions. For the first speaker, second, Abani, Dr. Abani, Dr. Onwama. Please, if you have any question, your electronic hands, raise your electronic hands so that we can call you. Soyin Talabi, yes, please be brief.
Yeah. Good evening, ma. I want to appreciate Estelle for this wonderful opportunity. I've enjoyed all the speakers, but I wanted to ask Dr. Onwama. He promised to help us review some of the articles, some of the papers we sent to him. Because we didn't have time yesterday. I'm hoping that we will send the questions also that we can use it to improve our work, ma. That's my question to Dr. Onwama.
Okay, thank you. Another, Grace again.
Yes, ma'am.
Your question.
Yes, good evening, ma'am. And everyone, good evening. I really want to appreciate the presenters. In fact, we are so grateful for this opportunity. But let me quickly ask my questions. Please, I have 3 questions that have been bothering me. One, You talked about, this is for Professor Hillary. When you talked about context, research proposal that the researcher must know so well about the context of the title or area of interest. Now, I want to ask this question, please. What in a situation where your supervisor wants you to tow his path? The supervisor wants you to write or to do your research work based on his own area of interest. How do you handle this? Probably it's an area you don't even know, or it's not just your area, and then he wants you to write with him. One. Then the second one is, when you are reviewing articles, for instance, I was working with somebody and the person said I should download 300 articles on that particular area. Now, I got confused. Does it mean that I have to read all the 300 articles word for word? Or are there specific areas or sections of the article that you feel we can read to help us get the particular the gap or whatever we are looking for? Or do we have to read word to word from the end to the end, from the beginning to the end of the article? And then finally, sir, this is personal. I don't know, I am a detailed person to some extent. So anything I do, I want to get the best out of it. For instance, when other people are writing their assignments, maybe 2 or 3 pages, I'll be struggling to write like 6 or 7. And this is not helping me. Even though at the end of the day, I'll try my best, but then how can you advise me so that I would not be writing and rewriting a particular, maybe if I'm doing the introduction now, I need to write and write and write and write and cancel and write and cancel. Please, I just need some sort of advice. Thank you, sir.
Muhyiddin, let's have all the questions. Muhyiddin, can we have your question?
Good evening, everyone. My question is for the first presenter that talked about writing styles. I was just wondering if there are software tools that can be recommended that will help in sharpening our scientific writing style. I remember yesterday when they were talking about plagiarism, there were a lot of software that were recommended. So for scientific writing style, do we have any specific tool that could be of help? And I think the answer to this question will in a way answer the last question that Grace asked about writing introduction in a way that you have to remove, not too satisfied with what you've written and try to perfect things. So if there are tools that one can actually employ that can be of assistance, I want to know. Thank you.
Then, Dr. Wama, when you were presenting, you said you read or you downloaded 800. Is it 800 or 80? One 800. Of the students. Okay, fine. 800. Because one of the students wanted to know whether it was 800 or 80 articles. 800. 800 articles. Fine.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think you can now respond to their questions.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other Muhyiddin? Okay, this Muhyiddin is different. Muhyiddin Bello, and can we have it?
Should I quickly respond to Muhyiddin's question?
Okay.
I want to really appreciate the prof that really developed, and I really get so much that really delivered tonight. The 2 profs. I'm very grateful to the Open University. My own question is specific. I look at the calendar. And I think our first seminar to be presented is coming up sometime in April. Right now, when we are doing registration, there is no specific topic. Now, my question is, at what point are we going to be giving topic, or we should go and start right now, look for a topic that's related to our thesis, or at what point will the university give us the topic, or we should go and look for the topic ourselves and start right away? Thank you. It's just a 3-day. I checked the calendar and it's coming up in April.
Okay, I think please answer the questions. Then, Carlo, you have to wait. After this section, we'll come to you and Ahmed. Dr. Mama,
So can I go on?
Yes, go on.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, the first question was, someone asked that I promised to send the corrections if I will be sending it today. The answer is no. I just dropped my phone number, my WhatsApp number on the chat forum so that you can prompt me privately by tomorrow after church. I will now send it to you and discuss privately with you. The submissions are so many, and I also spend a lot of time preparing these slides because all of these, I prepare new slides every day for this presentation. So it has been quite challenging. So, and I've given another public lecture today on entrepreneurship before this particular one. So, in fact, as soon as it was less than 10 minutes when I finished that one before I came up now. But I assure you, just private chat me on WhatsApp, become my friend, and then I will give you the correction, discuss it with you, and continue to guide you until you become better than I am. So there's no cause for alarm at all. That's for that first question. The second one said that I talked about context. Say, what of a situation where a supervisor wants you to do his part? How do you handle it? Supervisor now gives you a topic and then he wants you to do it. First and foremost, your supervisor is a specialist in your field. For instance, take civil engineering. When you want to do a PhD or a master's in civil engineering, he said that you are doing it in water resources and environmental engineering, structural engineering, highway and transportation, or geotechnical engineering. So let's assume for some of us who are in water resources and environmental engineering, they cannot give you a supervisor from structures. They give you a supervisor for water resources and environmental engineering. That means both of you know things that are common in the field. And then maybe you want to work on solid waste management, and the man says he's not interested in solid waste management, that he wants to work on flood routing. Flood routing is also another aspect of water resources and environmental engineering, which you have done in your first degree, and then which you may have done in your master's. Okay, and then so the next thing to do is that instead of rejecting that topic, go and look for literature. That's what our problem is in your area. A professor cannot tell you to go and do a topic on mass communication when he's a professor of civil engineering. So what is still given to you is still within the boundary of civil engineering, but maybe not an area you are interested in. And the area you're interested in may have been overflowed. What you are sending to him may not stand the test of time. He knows better than you do. That's why he is the master. And so, and then he may also have funding for that area that is pushing you into. Your blessing may even lie in that area. So what you need to do is that go and update your knowledge. Go and download at least 100 articles in flood routing. Go and download 100 articles in criminality in social media space. Go and download articles in AI. And then study those articles. When you study the articles contextually and with deep understanding, you will even get to know the topic much better than your supervisor. That's the truth of the matter. You know it better than your supervisor. So the problem we have is that we are too lazy to study literature. And many a time we study very weak literature. We are highly adulized. We are looking for an adult platform. We are highly Googleized. We want to get only from Google Scholar. We are highly biolanized. We want to get only for Bio Online. And that's why if you are doing work with me as my student, you must download the materials and show it to me before you begin to read. And the materials must come from Science Direct, which is Elsevier. The materials must come from Springer. The material will come from Taylor and Francis. The material will come from Willie and Sons. They must come from IEEE. They must come from American Society of Civil Engineers. They must come from American Society of Civil Engineers. They must come from WHO. They must come from NAFDA. They must come from SON. They must come from FEPA. So when you get classified materials like this, and you study the way you read your Bible and your Quran, and you understand it the way you understand Quran and the Bible, you will become an authority also. So that is just the way to go. So please, the most important thing is accept it so that you don't begin to have enmity with your supervisor from day one. Accept the topic graciously, and then begin to look for titles, renowned titles in that area, and then begin to study it and make underlines, study the abstract, study the methodology, study the statement of problems, and then begin to contextualize it. Having done that, when you return to your supervisor, you will return like an angelic being. Your supervisor will be shocked. I had this kind of challenge in my own time, and then I went into literature review. But when I returned, my supervisor knew that an academic angel has returned, and the work was made fast by him because he saw interest, he saw commitment, and he saw knowledge that was better than the knowledge I earlier had when the topic was first presented to me. So please, I want to beg all this night. Our problem in literature review, we read literature like newspaper. No. When you want to read literature, read it holistically. Read it like the Bible or the Quran. because you want to understand every verse, every information contained in it. And you want to get the rema, not just the letter, because the letter kill it, like I said before, but the rema give it understanding and gives life. So read it to get what is being said. Read it to know it better than even the writer of that particular article. And from there, begin to explore your word, begin to explore the topic, and begin to develop yourself. Now, the next question says, when reviewing articles, I was asked to download another article. Do I need to read? Your supervisor is very kind. You didn't download enough, which is if it is PhD. Because in my time, I downloaded 300 and then printed them. The printing alone cost me about 50,000 naira. You understand me? And then bound them and read all of them. If you have to read 300 articles for a PhD, if you have to read 300 articles for a PhD thesis, the man is not bad, because what you are reading is, you are not reading it because you want to review it. You are reading it with an understanding to get what you lack. So when you pick it and then you look at the methodology, pick what you need. Nobody's going to ask you interview questions on that article. Nobody's going to give you employment because of that article. So if you need some of them, you downloaded some of them because of the methodology. You downloaded some because of the introduction. You downloaded some because of the result of discussion. You downloaded some because of the special analysis they did. The one that you downloaded for analysis, go and pick analysis information. The ones you downloaded for introduction, go and get introduction information. The ones you downloaded for whatever, go and pick those things. Synthesize all of them at the end of the day. In fact, as a matter of fact, when you are reading this thing, there is this happiness, there is this joy that is inside of you that energizes you to read more. And I tell you, if you decide to read 20 of the articles per day, in 15 days, you have finished the 300 article. Because 20 times 15, if I'm correct, should be giving out 300. I don't know if I'm correct. So read 20 per day. And in 15 days, you are finished. Read 10 per day. In 30 days, you are finished. As you are reading, you are jotting. You are jotting, electronic jotting for that matter, because I no longer like hard copy jotting. Jot it. Open a diary. Open a diary in your laptop. Create a platform in your laptop. Jot all the things you are getting. Begin to use information now to develop your own. So if you ask to read 300 articles, your supervisor is a very nice person. It's very, very simple and very moderate. Please appreciate him. Buy him a gift for not over-laboring you. Because if I were your supervisor, you will read more than the 300 articles so that it can be better than I am. Now it says, I'm a detailed person. How can you advise me so that I don't toe the line of over-perfection? Yes, I used to be like you until I discovered that, just like Professor Bani said, knowledge does not begin with you and it will never end with you. So there is no need for perfectionism, but do the best you can and submit that best to your friends to review before you submit to a supervisor. So when you write to a certain extent, you can try as much as possible to send it out, let people look at it. Don't try to be over perfect because you are a student. You are not yet a doctor of philosophy. You don't yet have doctor of philosophy, rather. You are not yet a philosopher. Because I tell people, according to my MSc supervisor, Engineer Professor Ifi Mwagazie, FNSC, one of the most renowned professors of civil engineering, is in uniform. When we were doing when I was doing my master under him, he told us something. He said, bachelor's degree. He said, you can have it a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Engineering, Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery. There will always be a bachelor inside because the degree is given to you so that you become a bachelor in that course. So you're a bachelor. You're a bachelor in that course. He said, when you now finish, you return for master's degree, they train you to be married to that course. That's what the masters mean. So by the time you finish the masters, you are now married to the course. That's why it is called Master of Science. You are married to that science. Master of Science Accounting, you are married to the Master of Science in Accounting. Master of Engineering in Electrical, you are married to it. He said, but when you return for PhD, it is not Doctor of Philosophy. You want to start philosophizing when you finish. And what it means to philosophize, according to what he told us, is that by the time you graduate, you ask some, you theorize some things, you philosophize some things. Some of them will come to pass, some will not come to pass. You now have the ability to ask questions and answer them. And then when you become a professor, so you now become a prophet in that course, you prophesy. Everything you say must come to pass. So at this level now, you cannot prophesy. Everything you say cannot come to pass. You are a doctoral student. You are not even yet a philosopher. And so there is no need for perfectionism. You do the best you can do and send to the next people to look at. And at the end of the day, you become a better person. I think these are the questions that have been asked, apart from the ones that are on the chat room. Let me receive other questions as I attend to them. But let me ask, have I been able to attempt answering this question, even though I did not answer them perfectly well? because I'm a human being.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you,
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Wama. Thank you, thank you.
All right.
We have.
Can I answer my own question?
Okay,
This is Dr.
Dr.
Kwame. Can I
Bayemi.
answer my own question?
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Quickly. A student asked about a grammar checker that you could actually use. So I want to suggest like 6 of them. I'm still going to type it on the chat box. We have the Trinker AI. We have the Grammarly, which we did talk about in some of our previous presentation. We have Ginger. We have Hemingway, and then we have Pro Writing Aid Typely. I'll type it on the group chat. And then I will want to urge the center as well. As we go on in our research, I would want to maybe urge the center, maybe we could actually collaborate with maybe some of our lecturers in the English department, because while I was doing my PhD, I really benefited from the library of the university which I went for my exchange program. That's the University of South Australia, where I'll normally go to the library. I'll get somebody to take me through how to construct sentences, how to use punctuation marks and the likes. Maybe that will help our students also to enhance the way they write. And also, it could actually help them to check, proofread some of their work before it's being sent out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Okoyemi.
There's a question on the chat. There's a question on the chat room. I don't know if I can respond to it.
Okay, please do.
So a student is asking, please, can we be made to understand better the difference between primary and secondary data collection? I want to quickly answer it because I know I mentioned something like that. So when we talk about primary data collection, we're looking at original data that you collected firsthand by yourself as a researcher. For instance, if I go into the lab now, collect some water samples and take it to the lab to determine the water quality parameters of boreholes in Abuja, that is a primary data because I took the water myself to the lab, okay, and then the parameters were determined from me. So that's original data, that's primary data. You collected it firsthand. But when we talk about secondary data, we're talking about data collected by someone else, collected by an agency. Let me put it this way, because someone else, you may not understand it. We're talking about panel data. For instance, Nigerian population, you cannot go and start counting people in Nigeria now because you want to know the population to do a research. You can resort to Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, to CBN, or the Population Commission to get the population. That population data you are getting is secondary data because it was not collected by you. If I go to the Federal Ministry of Environment and I'm giving data on solid waste management in Nigeria, peradventure they have, but I'm not sure they have. Such a data is known as secondary data. Okay, if I'm looking for a number of persons who have computer in Nigeria and I decide to do random sampling in the form of questionnaire and analyze it using probability measures, that is an original data because there is none. But if I go to an agency, okay, run by computer scientists, whatever, computer, a CPC or whatever agency, and I collect their data they have collected over time on how many persons own computer in Nigeria and then their sexes and their age, that is a secondary data. So secondary data are panel data that you have collected from an approved and recognized agency for your research work. While the primary ones are the ones you collect by yourself, either through questionnaire, through experimental processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wama. Please, the last question by Carlo.
Excuse me,
yes.
Ma. Yes. There's a question on the chat I want to answer.
Okay.
The student says, is theoretical framework necessary in ICT? With my ICT background, please, you cannot be admitted to as an undergraduate in computer science without you passing physics. From that physics, you have the theories of telecommunication. And in your 100 level, you must have done physics, chemistry, mathematics. These are theories where you derive your theoretical framework from. And of late, I've been teaching analog and digital electronics for Open University 100 level students. These are sources where you get your theoretical frameworks. There are theories, basis for whatever you are doing in ICT. So if you don't know how to write theoretical framework in ICT, please, you look towards those of us who are electrical engineers. We try to give you the theories where those things you do in your communication come from. And that is what is called theoretical framework. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Mr. Carlo Igu. Please, the last question. We have
Okay.
really overstayed.
My question is to Professor Owama.
Okay.
I want to ask, sometimes we hear about concept note, we hear about synopsis, and then proposal, and there's always confusion. What is there any difference or just a choice of words? That's number one question. Then I want to
concept note, call it again, concept note, synopsis, and what?
And proposal, just as you have.
Okay.
Then the other, not a question, but just a plea. All the sources you mentioned about scientific sources of proper literature, you have mentioned them here. Could you please help us to list them?
Are you okay?
Yes.
Have you finished your question? Dr. Oman,
yes.
Please, help out.
Okay, your second question is the sources that I mentioned.
The sources of proper scientific literature, where we can get them. You mentioned a lot of them.
Okay, no problem. Now, first and foremost, when we talk about concept note, that is some supervisors will want you to submit a concept note before you develop a proposal. So normally, concept note is supposed to come before a proposal if it is necessary. So a concept note is an outline research proposal which is submitted by a research worker or a research group, just an outline. Okay, sometimes you may submit 3 topics to your supervisor so that he now chooses one that he can now go and develop a proposal on. So when you are submitting those 3 topics, you give an outline, a brief information about them. That is a concept note. Okay, are you getting me? So yes, that's a concept note. Okay, just some supervisor want you to submit 3 topics, 4 topics, 5 topics. So you submit it, don't just write only the topic at the level of PhD, even master. You submit it in the form of a concept note. Okay, and then the supervisor looks at it and then he accepts the one he needs. After accepting that one, you now go and develop a proposal. So the concept note comes before the proposal. Now, when we talk about synopsis, synopsis is a summary of your work when you have finished your faculty seminar and you are going to PG school. That will summarize your work for the purposes of documentation and sending your work to the external examiner. So when we talk about synopsis, you have finished the work. So the difference between synopsis and proposal is that proposal, you have not done the work, you are proposing. But for synopsis, you have done the work. So university will require you after your faculty seminar, before your final presentation, to write your synopsis. Okay, in the synopsis, you now have your aim and objective, your topic will be there, the aim and objective will be there, everything highly summarized, the methodology will be there, then your result in very short form, and then you may not bother about discussion, your major findings, and then your contribution to knowledge. So that's what we call synopsis. And then every school has the way they organize it, they have instructions about it. So when you get to synopsis level, your supervisor will bring an old synopsis that will guide you to do your work. So don't be bothered about those terminologies. You have a guide, the supervisor will keep guiding you. Your own problem should be on proposal. As soon as you finish your faculty seminar, you will be exposed to some synopsis that we use to do your work. But the proposal is your own work to do. Why the concept note is when you are submitting topics and outline of the topic. And then you talked about those research platforms that I talked about where we can get repeatable data from. One is Science Direct, which is the Elsevier platform. Science Direct, sciencedirect.com. You can put it online, you see it. Sciencedirect.com. Science Direct, no space. Sciencedirect.com. That's where you get repeatable articles from there. The next one is Springer.com or SpringerOnline.com. In fact, as soon as you put Springer in the Google space, they will take you to where you can get articles. So don't put Springer Online or Springer.com. The next one is Wiley Online, W-I-L-E-Y, Wiley Online. Put it on Google, and then you'll be routed to their platform where you can get their articles. And then the next one is Taylor and Francis Online or Taylor Online. The same thing. Taylor and Francis Online or Taylor Online. Put it on Google, it will take you to the appropriate place. But may I mention that these platforms will not show you only the abstract, and they will require you to pay $35 for you to get this work downloaded for you. They only show you the abstract. So, but what we normally do, in case you have this challenge, you can fall back to me because I decided to register an agency wherein we subscribe with a certain amount of money, and then we're able to download for the student at 70% discount level. So when you see anyone in these platforms and they are asking you to pay that $5, which is about 15,000, 18,000 naira, you can come to us and then we'll help you to get it at 2K, 3K, and then your problem is solved. But it's your duty to go online and get them first, get the titles. Send us the titles. I will send it to my boys who will work in my consultancy office. We'll get it downloaded for you and we'll send to you, because these are not free. But when you get this thing, you have gotten everything you need in Recite, because they will guide you more than your supervisor. They will structure you and panabit you in such a manner that you will now become a true philosopher by the time you graduate. And then you begin to philosophize. Some of the things you say will come to pass, some will not come to pass until you become a professor. You now begin to profess. And everything
it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Please, the last.
Doctor, you have solved our problems.
Thank you.
We have Muideen. Muideen, are you raising your hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Muideen, are you raising?
Yes, I am.
It's already late. Yes.
Okay.
The director is waiting. Please.
Okay, ma'am. So the questions I have, they are not directly related to this session. The first one is, we still don't have access to the e-learning platform, the new students. So please, when are we going to have the access so that we can get the ground running as far as going through the materials? Then secondly, I discovered that we are done with the orientation, and they've created a WhatsApp platform for each class. But I'm wondering, when are we going to have an avenue where we will be able to interact with our senior colleagues? They have learned one or two things and they are ahead of us. So having a platform where we will be able to interact with them, ask them questions, and for them to be our guidance will really help us. So I want to know what plan do we have for that? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I think the director is here. She will help us with it.
Okay. Can I come in?
Yes, Prof.
Thank you. As regards the learning platform, we are working on it. From Monday, you'll be able to have your login details that enable you access the platform. On the issue of, I think somebody raised something on supervision. When will their topic ready? When can they start? In the next week also, you will be allocated the supervisors for your that will help you with your research. And so you will with your supervisors to come up with the topic. Just as Dr. Hilary has said, the work of getting a topic for your research is yours and that of your supervisor. So when we assign the supervisor, we get it, and the supervisors will also have the information of you being their students, and you can commence your research activity. I also have noted the issue of if we could collaborate with the English department to help support the students in terms of the style of writing. So that's noted, and we'll look at it. Is there any other one that concerns center? Have noted?
No, ma, you've answered the question. And again, we have come to the end of the workshop. So, Prof, the director, please. Over to you. Thank
you. I think the Deputy Director, Dr. Vivian, is there to give a vote of thanks for this all-important workshop. And the DVCTIR is there to give us a closing remark as well as clear the workshop news. So I Dr. Vivian, please.
Okay, good evening everyone. And sorry, on behalf of the director, African Center of Excellence on Technology and Enhanced Learning, I wish to convey our sincere appreciation to the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Gupta, And the DVCTIR, who has been with us through this session. In fact, I was impressed to see her again today. Professor Monioluwa Olani, thank you. The management of the National Open University of Nigeria for providing the required support, which has really contributed to the successful hosting of the workshop. I think really this workshop is a key aspect for every student in postgraduate. And I think the crux of the matter of their being here has been sorted out with this workshop. We appreciate the Dean, School of Postgraduate. We appreciate the Director of ASTEL, Professor Grace Joktan, because really this has also been thanks to her support. The Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Mafiana, Chinedu Mafiana, the Director Rick Tridal, and the Research Coordinator of ASTEL, Professor Christine Ofulwe, because really she has also been here throughout and has given her has shared her wealth of experience with us. Special thanks to our distinguished presenters, Dr. Bayemi, Dr. Hilary, Dr. Kingsley, Dr. Abanihi, the program coordinators, especially Dr. Juliana Undunagu, who has also really been the brain behind this. The research coordinator, of course, I've thanked her before, Professor Christine Ofulwe. The counselor, Dr. Sefinat, and I've told you that she's ever ready to attend to the concerns of the students, the admin, the technical support staff. Above all, our thanks goes to our students for their active participation and their relevant, suggestions to ASTEL. Like the director said, all the recommendations have been noted, and we'll make sure that we attend to all your needs. And so we really look forward to a situation where all that has been done will be put into effect. And like the director has said, there won't be any excuse for anybody because we'll provide everything, all the resources that you need. Thank you so much. And above all, we thank God for the success of this workshop. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vivian Watcher. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Prof.
Yes, just 1 minute before the DVCTR comes up.
Okay.
Please, I want to inform students that for them to graduate under the MSc program, they must publish at least a minimum of 2 journal publications in purpose. And those that are PhD students have a minimum of 3 purpose. So can we please, this aim at building your capacity so that you achieve this objective. I just wish that you note that and work towards it. Thank you. DVCTR, please.
Thank you very much, Director and faculty of the African Center of Technology Enhanced Learning. African Center of Excellence on Technology Enhanced Learning. I must say that I'm indeed overwhelmed to actually learn of this important activity. And to also note that it has run for 1 full week with the full participation of students and resource persons pulled from different locations. I must commend the efforts of the director and the staff, all academics and the support staff of the African Center of Excellence for Technology Enhanced Learning, and also to appreciate all the resource persons that have put in their best to ensure that this training is successful. And I hope that the students will be encouraged to engage in research topics that will result in groundbreaking results and also enhance their own visibility when they are able to publish in high-rated journals. And like the director had just said, it is commendable to note that you will need to make publications before you graduate. It's not new. I had my PhD in Belgium and several years back, and I had to make publications before I could graduate. So it's not anything new. We are just trying to catch up with the developed countries who had left us behind. And as Africans, we should also rise up to this challenge. So I encourage you to take up this as a serious issue and work assiduously. You cannot run away from studying. To be a good academic, you need to study the literature. Don't just read. You must study. And I like the way Dr. Owama emphasized it. You must study because it will help you to contextualize your concept. It's one thing to have a concept. It's another thing to contextualize and to bring it out. If you study literature, if you search, it will also help you to define your methodology. Then you'll be able to run and achieve your aim. I believe Estelle has a defined format, and then they will bring up this format in sync with the School of Postgraduate Studies. I'm sure that they will have a format so that you don't have to just go about bringing a format for yourself. There must be a uniform format. It's important for you to also present your work consistently with that official format. However, I want you to note that thesis format is different from manuscript format. So you have learned a lot in this 1 week. When you're presenting your thesis, you know how to follow the guidelines. When you are presenting a manuscript for consideration in a journal, you also have to follow the guidelines of that particular journal. So if you're preparing a manuscript, you go to the journal and search out the guidelines that you need to follow to prepare your manuscript. So you have a whole lot of demands on you, but I know that you are up to the task because you have been trained. So the outlet of your work will determine the type of preparation you put into it. I advise you to have a work plan. I had Dr. Owama talk about research schedule. It's the same thing as having a work plan. That work plan, you will define it, specifying the timelines so that you are guided by your own timelines. I'd like to conclude by advising you to always identify threats to your projects. You have a concept, you want to run a research in a certain topic, then after the concept, you have to sit down and think of what could likely be a threat to the success of this project. This will help you to be able to be at alert at all times, to first identify it and then define how you can circumvent it. If you don't identify your threats, then it may catch you at unawares and it may result in you abandoning a project. But if you have an idea of what could likely go wrong, you plan ahead on how to circumvent it, you will most likely succeed. Because if you don't have a plan and you don't identify your problems, you are likely to have a whole lot of challenges in your hands. I'm sure Estelle will guide you on how to go about your seminars and your projects. I'm sure, as the director has said, you will be able to relate with your supervisors to get success. In all, I wish you a great success. And on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Olufemi Peters, I want to congratulate you ahead of time and wish you all the best. Thank you. Director.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Olufemi Peters, I can declare the meeting of closed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, my professor. Thank you, Professor Hilary, for doing a very nice job. God bless you as we venture.
Thank you for all your encouragement. In fact, this is
this journey of
an eye-opener.
and becoming a prof very soon. Thank you very much. Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah, bye bye. Thank you. Thank you very much.